to Birthing Purpose with Lana. Today we have Lauren Brooks. I am so happy that she is here. I met her at the first annual Indies Author Expo, and I was like, I just want you here to talk about your books because she's got some amazing stories. So, quick introduction. Lauren Brooks is a fiction author who weaves together elements of folklore, romance, and authentic storytelling. She was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. She is a proud graduate of Central State University and HBCU in Southern Ohio, where she earned her degree in English literature. She's got the brains. Lauren writes with a mission to create stories where readers can see themselves, their challenges, and their triumphs reflected on the page. Her work explores the rich emotional landscapes of love, loss, resilience, and healing, blending the beauty of lived experiences with the power of imagination. With every story, she strives to uplift, inspire, and honor the enduring spirit of communities of color through layered characters and heartfelt prose. All
Beautiful.
right. We got Lauren here. All right,
Thank
let's
you.
dive in. So I saw her at the Indie Authors Conference, and I went over to her table, introduced myself, and I just saw her book, and I was like, Lesedi and the Purple Lotus, what is that? Tell me a little bit about that. And she was like, gladly. So let them know what is her book is called Lesedi and the Purple Lotus. Let's talk about it.
So it really started with my want for the genre of fantasy to show Black people, honestly, because I'm a big fantasy reader and I love just, the whole fictional world. I grew up reading like Harry Potter and like a lot of fantasy like that. And I just kept seeing, you know, people who didn't look like us. So it really started with like, I want to read a fantasy that reflects us. And yeah, that's how it started.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Yes. So with Lesedi and the Purple Lotus, this is about a slave rebellion in the 19th century in New Orleans,
Mhm.
Louisiana,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
And so you turn this historical event, also known as the 1811 German Coast Uprising, which is the largest slave revolt in the US. So
Yeah.
you took this serious historical topic and made a fantasy out of it.
Mhm.
Tell me about that.
Yes. So with fantasy, there's all these elements of magic, right? All of these otherworldly things. And how many times have we heard Black girl magic, Black boy joy, all these things? So I was kind of not knowing where I wanted to go with the story. I knew I had like an idea, but I went to New Orleans and I actually went to Whitney Plantation, which is where the rebellion took place. And as I was walking the grounds, it was just like a other type of feeling. You could feel the
Mm,
power. I
mm.
mean, you see these huge, like vaults where they boiled sugarcane, and you see these cabins, and it just is. It's an outer body experience, and to me, I was like, you have an oppressed group of people who have had their names stolen from them, their family stolen from them, their everything that they know is taken from them, and they come to this new world, right? And they learn the plants because that's how they heal themselves. They learn the stars because that's how they run, how they navigate themselves. And I was like, this is magic. This is real magic. This is the fact that you're out, that these people are outrunning dogs and outsmarting people and they can't even read. And I was
Wow.
like, I wanted to pay homage to that
Yeah.
100%. And I was like, especially because I work in the schools. My education is working in, my background is working in education. And for this to have been the largest slave revolt, I never learned about it.
No,
You know what I mean? And it's
no.
like when you learn about the history of enslavement, you learn about all of the trauma, all of the pain, all of the, barely, because they still hide a lot of that from you. But you never hear about the rebellion, the uprising, the resilience,
No.
the fact that these people did attain freedom to a certain extent, so I was like, that's what I really wanted to bring out: the magic in the resilience, and the magic in making a way out of no way, which is, Black people, that's ingrained in us,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Wow. So in Lesedi in the Purple Lotus, your main character is looking for love and adventure.
Hmm.
And then she comes into this world of bondage and rebellion.
Yes,
She's trying to balance the light and the darkness.
absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when we're young, or else as a young girl, you want to see the world, you want to have a fairy tale, you want all the things that feel good. Everybody's always rushing to be grown, and then you become an adult, and you're like, this is not what was promised to me. It's
Right.
that sense of naivete when you grow up, in a house with your strict parents who want you to do well and want you to, and you're like, I just want to see what else is out there. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, go
So how
see.
do you connect with her?
I connect with this character in the way that she is always still positive. I think that in
Mm,
this world, it's so easy to be defeated. And so many
mm.
times we are defeated. We're
Yeah.
like, I gave it everything I had, I did everything I could do, and it didn't work. And so it's like, all right, it's easy to be like, to become pessimistic. It's easy
Hmm.
to just, to adopt these ideas of what is possible and what isn't possible. And what I loved about writing this character is that even in the midst of everything she was going through, she still had it in her to inspire the people that was around her, to speak life over the people who are around her, to still have the get up and go to say, I'm going to do this, even though it's hard, even though I'm in pain, even though I have suffered immense loss. There is nothing that's going to stop me from what I have in my head. And I identify with that because I have had so many setbacks in my life. I have failed many times. I've had to learn the same lessons two, three, four times over again.
Mm.
That's the reality of my life. I would like to say that I did everything right the first time, that I made all the decisions right the first time, but that's just not my story. And so even me being here right now talking to you is a testimony to me saying, I'm gonna keep going. So that is really what I really wanted to bring out, is that, like, this world is not a perfect place. Life is full of ups and downs, dark and light, and you make the decision on how you want to live your life on the day-to-day basis. You control your thoughts on the day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. This is a pretty thick book. I was like 322. How long did it take you to write this book?
2 years, 2 years, 2 years.
So what was your like creative process? Did you just get a little bit downloaded every day or you kind of picked it up as you are set goals? Like what was your creative process with this?
It was 100% research. And I mean, because I wanted a lot of it to be like historically accurate, even
Okay.
just from, like, describing what New Orleans looked like in
Mm,
that time period.
mm,
And then, like, you know, the interweaving of the native parts of it, and the interweaving of, like, the Bible and Christianity, but
mm,
also like Catholicism and hoodoo and all of the things that took place in New Orleans. So it was a lot of research, because when you're writing about culture, right,
mm,
you want to make sure that you do it right. You want to make sure that you do it in a way that is paying respect to the people who live this life.
mm.
So it was about learning these people. And so a lot of my characters in the story, although they're fictional characters, they are based on real people who I read about. And I was like, this person is going to be a character in my book. So
Wow.
there's a lot of characters who they are based on real people who walked this earth.
Yeah. So in all your research, did you have any wow, like whoa? Can you give me one of
I was, I had a lot, a lot of woes.
them?
I would say, on a up and a down, Louisiana was a really unique place,
Mhm.
as you had free Africans as well as enslaved Africans. And so there was this whole thing, especially then you start to introduce this Creole culture, right? With the Spanish, it being a Spanish territory at one time and a French territory at one time, and then also all the natives. So I think one of those moments for me were like these blurred lines in slavery, right? Where
Mhm.
you have white male slave owners who have these black mistresses who live in the house, who don't wear the same clothes that everybody else, who get this like preferential treatment, right? And these dynamics of slaves being loyal to their owners, and like this narrative that they try to push as far as like my slaves are happy because they're fed and then a lot of enslaved people feeling like, it's knowing, what slavery looks like across the board and saying, okay, it's bad, but we got a good thing here because it could be worse. We could be over here. And like how those lines get blurred. And then also people of color also owning slaves, and then come into play with also these maroon colonies, which is huge. Like these people who escape slavery and literally build a life in the swamps, in the woods. And it's a whole community of people living in the woods. And at that time, that was the safest place for them to be because their genetic makeup could fight against the mosquitoes have carrying yellow fever that would kill white people. And just genetically, they thrived in these places. And so it was all these kind of like, what? Like, so yes, across the board, yes.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is like, especially living in the woods, and
Yeah.
then your body just adjusts to the environment.
Yes. Yes.
Our body, we're very resilient,
Oh,
more than we
mhm.
even know. Who
More
would
than you
even,
know. More than you
who
know.
would think of what wow.
Yeah, it's a reason. There's a reason why Africans were enslaved. It's because they survived, where they tried to enslave the native and indigenous population before, and they couldn't fight off the diseases that the Europeans brought, and they couldn't fight off these diseases. Africans were chose. It was an intentional decision because of how strong we were. The fact that
Mhm.
our skin absorbs the sun, right? We're
Yeah.
not out there burning. Our melanin, literally, the fact that we could fight these diseases, the fact that we just had this internal knowledge of, okay, use this plant, use
Yes.
this, use that. And so
Yes.
it was very intentional on the Europeans' part, the way they picked us. It wasn't like they were just like, well, here's some black people. They were like, no, these people, they're strong.
I feel
Yeah,
strong as a how to be
you
African American.
should.
Just as you're talking, I'm like,
Yes,
oh,
yes.
strength.
You have to think, this is how I like to explain it. When the Europeans went to Africa, they picked the strongest men and the strongest women, right? They like, we want people who can work this land. So they picked the cream of the crop, you know. So think about, so they were selected because of their strength and superiority, and then to survive the Middle Passage is a testament to how
Absolutely.
strong, because we all know that the Middle Passage was torture on another level. So
Mhm.
the fact that we are here, descendants of our enslaved ancestors, is a testament that you descend from the cream of the crop, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is encouraging and motivating just to
Yeah.
remember that. But one of the things you touched on is how the slaves in the house
Mhm. Mhm.
was more loyal to the masters than they were to the slaves in the field.
That's right.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I know they were in there and they had the
Mhm.
preferential treatment, but I
Mhm.
didn't think that they turned on them or they were
Yeah.
loyal to them. I that.
And it's, every place is different, but what I found in my research, especially in like the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, where the North was coming into the South and they were, you know, burning down things and dismantling slavery as much as they could, there were slave owners who left land to slaves, right? There's a lot of Black people, myself included, who
Okay.
have ancestral land in their family that gets passed down to generation from generation that started from there. Then you also got to think about the whole culture of abuse and women and not having autonomy over their body. Now you're raising children who belong to the person who own you. And
Mm.
you have, some of these slave owners who do recognize that this is my child, right?
Right.
And so you have, I'm not trying to romanticize slavery because it is as terrible as we know it to be. I'm just trying to point out that there are lots of blurred lines when it comes to generation after generation of oppression. When you start mixing blood, when you start, your family was born on this land, you were born on this land. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
You become
mhm.
attached to it. And so that was
I
something that I really wanted to really pull out.
I did not know that slave owners left land to
Yeah.
some of the slaves.
Yeah, not always, but there are lots of documented.
Good.
Yeah, well, you know what?
Maybe just had them as servants, like maids. Didn't beat them, didn't abuse them, that sort of thing.
They outsourced it. They wouldn't do it themselves. They hire somebody, to do
So
it.
so there were cases where slavery didn't look like the slavery
Oh,
that we
absolutely.
didn't know that. And when I hear slave, I
Yeah,
hear everybody was beat, hung, whipped.
yeah,
But there
yeah.
are some instances where that didn't happen. And so it's good
That
to
is
know
true.
that as well.
Yes. Oh, and like again, I want to reiterate that that is not the case majority,
Right.
but you do have these really unique situations where you know, slaves are growing their own food, they have their own garden,
Mm.
they have their own cabins. Then you also have places that were like plantations that were known as, breaking plantations where it was really cruel,
Right. Right.
like in just unimaginable things. And especially in New Orleans, you hear these stories of these rich socialites and all these ways that they would torture their slaves and all these different, really just disgusting things. But again, that I think plays into the narrative of what we are taught. We are taught of the pain, we are taught of all the torture and all those things. And I think it's intentional. You
But
don't
divide
hear
and conquer.
the divide and conquer. You don't hear that sometimes slave owners left their land to their,
Never heard of that.
and it is a thing. It's definitely a thing.
Now, in New Orleans, you talked about the voodoo,
Hmm.
that culture. Do you think that is because it's so much down there? Do you think that stemmed from all the slavery there? They wanted
Oh
to
yeah.
figure out a way to harm their slave owners.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's a difference between hoodoo and voodoo.
Okay.
So voodoo, well, let me say, hoodoo is a form of African spirituality that is mixed with Christianity. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of like scripture reading, Bible reading, but what it was that in African spirituality, there's a supreme God and then there's deities. And so it's very similar to Catholicism, where you have saints, right? And
Right, right.
so a huge thing that got banned on a lot of plantations were drums, because drums are really sacred in African culture. And so
Mm,
drums could be used to tell stories, to send warnings as signals and
mm,
things like that.
mm,
And so because African people had these ways of communicating where Europeans wouldn't understand it,
mhm.
they banned a lot of things that the Africans brought with them. And
Right.
so what they would do is they would hide their their religion, their culture,
Mhm,
their sense of
mhm.
spirituality within Christianity. And that's what hoodoo is. It is African spirituality under the umbrella of Christianity.
They weren't really Christians. They just tried to hide it under there.
It's, I would say,
Okay.
over time,
Hmm.
it blended. In the beginning, no.
Mm.
In the beginning, it was just kind of like you said, a way to hide. But as time goes on, I mean, we're, slavery was 600 years of, you know.
Mhm.
So over time, it started to blend.
Okay.
And but again, this is what I mean, these blurred lines,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Especially because there's a lot of, where I'm here in Cleveland, where I grew up, I didn't know a lot of Black people who identified as Catholic, but in the South, there are,
Mm.
especially because Spain, there was at one point in time when Spain still owned parts of Mexico and part of the West, they would say to slaves, if you cross over into Spanish territory
Mhm.
and you submit to the crown, which is, their queen, their king,
Okay.
then you are free. We will not send you back. Like, you would be free in Spanish territory.
Mhm.
So that means that they would have to convert to Catholicism. So a lot of slaves that escaped into that type of Spanish territory, which is a whole nother thing, because we only learn about the Northern Underground Railroad. There was a Southern Underground Railroad. And
Mm.
so, because Spain was like a safe haven, and so a lot of people converted so that
Mm.
they would be free under the Spanish crown. So yeah, a lot of blurred
So I
lines.
can kind of
Yeah.
see why some people would feel like Christianity is the white man's religion
It was
it,
forced.
because it was forced,
Yes. Yes. But
or for just hiding their real religion. I get it. I get it in that sense.
and
But I
also,
still feel like it's the true religion.
yeah, but and then because people don't know the history,
Mhm.
Christianity has a history in
Yes,
Africa.
it does.
And so,
It does.
but not it's not wasn't primarily in West Africa, it's primarily like in Eastern Northern Africa.
Right.
And those Africans weren't enslaved, right? Not as
Mhm.
much, because we're coming from the coast. The majority of enslaved Africans came from Western and Southern Africa. But there is a history of Christianity in Africa that
Right.
predates slavery. And so what happened during slavery is they had these Bibles that they would take certain stuff out of.
Hmm.
So all the parts that talk about being free, all the parts that talk about, just would be inspiring. So they had these kind of, I don't want to say edited, but I can't think of a better word.
Right,
But
right.
they, like, when you hear people say Christianity is a white man's religion, we have to keep in mind that they weren't giving these Africans the full Bible as we know it today,
Right.
right? They
Right.
were telling them that they were descendants of Ham, that they were cursed, that they
Mhm.
were meant to be slaves,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
they, instead of reading the part of, they didn't get to see the part where Jesus looked like them. They didn't get
Right.
to see the part where
Right.
they freedom.
Right.
Those parts were taken out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So you say you're in education. Are you a history teacher?
No, I actually studied English, and so I taught social studies for a year, but and now in the young, I'm with the little kids now, I'm in
Okay.
preschool now,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I did social studies, but mostly English.
I thought about being a history teacher because
I have, I have, but I'm gonna just keep it real with you. They don't pay us enough. Cannot. It's hard. It is
Mhm.
hard to make a living off being a teacher, solely being a teacher. And the burnout rate is so high. And
Yeah.
I've been in the schools for 10 years, and I will honestly say that I'm kind of burnt out, which is kind of why I'm with the preschoolers now. But I do love history. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I feel like there's still something you can do on your own.
You know what?
Educational workshop,
Yeah,
something,
kind of.
Kwanzaa, Black History Month,
Oh,
and I don't know.
yeah, on my to-do list is, I would love, and I'm kind of playing around with the idea now, to write a history book. And I'm just kind of playing around with
Entitled
different ideas.
What They Didn't Tell You, or the surprises,
Yeah, somewhere along those
something
lines.
like, because there
Everything
are
you
a lot of
didn't know.
surprises that
Yeah,
people would be like, what?
yeah, absolutely.
Some things. There are misconceptions about history.
Everything. And we have such a rich history as African Americans in
Yeah.
this country. It's like that's one of the things I struggle with. It's like it's impossible to cover from the time we got here until now. There's just too much. We've done
Ah,
too much.
You got a lot of work to do, and
Yeah, so I would have to
you can
take
be
a
doing it until you check out of here. You keep you busy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So, with anything else that you want the viewers to know about Lesedi and the Purple Lotus?
I would say is I think that it is a read for all ages, from young to old, because what you're going to get out of this is more than just, you're going to get a history lesson. You're
Okay.
going to get a sense of empowerment. And so I think that everybody who reads this will get something else, because more than just the history, more than just the magic and the whimsical part of it, you have these people relationships, right?
Mm,
Friend to friend and mother to daughter and those kinds of things. And I think that that is really important too, because I think that there's a lot of dynamics between mother and daughter that people can relate to, whether
yeah.
it be you feeling like you came up in a different time and your mother doesn't get it, you know? And
Right.
even like I think one of my favorite like character dynamics is between Lesedi and her best friend Kendi. Because Kendi and Lesedi lived two totally different lives, right? And they're still best friends, but where Kendi comes from a male dominated place where women have to stay in their they don't have say so. They're, you
Mm,
know, they don't even get to choose who they marry. And Lesedi comes from a tribe that is like has a matriarch, right? And just that difference of their lifestyles. And I think that as you grow up, sometimes you have people who you love, who you grew up with, that you grow apart from. And it's such a heartbreaking thing. If you've ever experienced, like, I like to call them
yeah.
best friend breakups, where
Yeah.
somebody who you love and you grew up with and went through all these things with, like, you get to be an adult and you guys are living two separate lives, and how those things start to clash with each other. So I think that there's multiple stories, multiple dynamics that you could pull out of this that will just kind of
Hmm.
inspire you on the daily, on the day to day
Yeah.
basis.
I still feel like there's still a way to find common ground. And
Absolutely.
I think that our society is, we're selfish, we're self-centered,
Mhm.
and we've got this fantasy that, oh, my best friend is supposed to be just like me. We're supposed to like the same
Mhm.
things or whatever. But I think that with everyone, you can still find that common ground where you
Yeah.
still maintain that friendship.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
true friendship,
That's right. That's right.
you
And part,
know?
I agree 100%. And part of that is understanding that you have not walked in their shoes and they have not walked in yours. And there's this sense of that we all need,
Yeah,
black and white alike, of this sense of empathy, of being able to understand. Like, I might not agree with what you do and I might not have done it the way you've done it, but I can understand based on your background, based on what you've experienced, based on what you've walked through, why you feel that way. And I
right,
think that that is what is missing. Everybody thinks that, and this is what I like to say. I'm like, God created a million different trees,
right.
a million different plants.
Yes,
It is delusional to think that he created us all to be the exact same way, that
right,
he created all of us to walk the same way.
right.
So you have to be accepted that I have a gift and you have a gift, and we're supposed to put those things together. They
Yeah,
don't have to be the same.
no,
They're supposed to work together.
absolutely. Wow. So where can people get a copy of this amazing book,
So right now,
historical fantasy?
right now it is available on my publisher's website, which is winpublications.com. It's also on Amazon and Kindle. And I'm working on, actually, the sequel is going to be out in the fall because I'm finishing it up now. So
Oh,
then once the second book comes out, I'll have them both on my website as well. But for now, Kindle, Amazon, and Win Publications is where you can find it.
okay. And what about audio?
I'm working on it. So I don't have an audiobook yet, but I do plan, that is something that actually is kind of
For
in the
people get
works
to
now.
just
So
hear it.
yeah, because what I really wanted to do was I really wanted to get, because it's a POV type of book, these different voices for
Mm,
different characters.
character.
And so I really wanted to be really kind of cinematic. Yeah.
How do they do the audiobooks? Do they just hire someone with all these voices, or you call all your friends? Hey, you gonna play this,
You
that
know
one, read
what?
through this
These
thing? Like,
days, a little bit of both. You can hire an actor, or if you know somebody, I know somebody who he is a first generation, his parents are immigrants, and they're from Ghana, and he can imitate them so good. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna attempt to try to do that accent because I don't want to mess it up.
they all
Yes,
have accents?
not all of them, but
Okay.
some of them. And so for the ones I do want to have like an authentic West African accent, and I can't do it justice. So,
No.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Call me in. You got someone that sound like me. I would love to do that. Read
Yeah.
on an audio book. That would be
Yeah.
fun. And plus, I
Okay.
love the topic, and so it would be
Yeah.
very interesting as well.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of
yeah,
characters. Yeah. So
remember me if you need the voice.
I got you, girl.
That's it. So different ways.
No, for real. I'll go ahead.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. This was
Thank you.
great. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I just had a period of history class. That's
You know what?
because I learned this short period of, what is it, 25? I learned some things and I'm like, wow.
Oh,
Oh,
pleasure
yes, thank
having
you
me.
so
Thank
much.
you. I really appreciate that.